Good morning, everyone. This is Ryan with Mama on Mission, and I got a request after my kindergarten curriculum video to do more of a close-up flip through of Story of the World. This is only our second year using Story of the World. We used Volume 2 last year because it was what our co-op was doing, and then they are not doing it this year, but we went ahead and continued Volume 3 because we loved it so much. And before our co-op had even decided to do it, we had already decided we were going to use Story of the World, so it worked out anyway. For those of you who are not familiar with it, this is what it looks like. This is, like I said, Volume 3. The first volume, I believe, is Ancient Times. I think Volume 2 was Medieval. This is Early Modern, and then, of course, the fourth volume would be Modern Times. As the name states, it is based on a story. This is kind of like your spine. So this is written like, I don't want to say like a novel, but like it's a story. It's a true story. It's not just like a textbook listing the facts. You know, it gives you the facts, but more in a story form. And it also is more of a classical approach. So it's based on, like I said, four cycles. And I think the idea behind it is to go through them all once, kind of in the elementary age, kind of get those memory pegs in there for different events and types of people and, all these things. And then you're supposed to go through it again in upper elementary into like early middle school and kind of just build on what you've learned, kind of flesh it out a little bit. So how we use this, everyone uses it a little differently, is each chapter has little sections in it. I don't know if you'll be able to see this. So there's like, above the arrow is the chapter, and then under that is like the section. A lot of them have like 2 to 3 sections, and every day that we do history, we read a section. And then we also have the activity book. And after each section, there is, again, I hope you can see this. I don't even know. Hold on. Okay. There is like review questions, and then it goes on to like what a narration would be like. So if you're not used to narrating, you would ask all these questions to kind of just check their reading comprehension, and then you would ask the child, repeat back to me kind of what this chapter is about. My boys are still really young. We're still not good at this, but we're working on it. And so this gives you like a couple choices of what a narration might sound like. Of course, it doesn't sound exactly like how they have it listed. And what I love about this curriculum is it's all chronological. Okay, so when I was in public school, I had like an American history class. Obviously, we learned all about American history. That's great. But then, when we got to world history and stuff, we would learn like about like one of the wars. We learned about World War II, and we learned about the countries and what they were doing around that time. But then we'd jump and learn about something else, and then we'd jump and learn about something else, and or we would study France, or we would study, and it was like region by region or major event, fast forward, rewind, this event, that, and it jumped around so much. And after reading this, like, I didn't realize how many holes were in my history knowledge, because I didn't realize, like, okay, when America was fighting the Civil War, what was going on in the rest of the world? I have no idea, or, oh my gosh, like, I didn't connect that this was happening in America while this was happening somewhere else. I never realized that those were happening at the same time, or I never realized that this happened before this, because I just had everything, like, segmented in my brain, either by region or by like war or whatever, instead of like one conducive timeline. So I know those of you who have been in the homeschool world, like, timeline is kind of duh to you, but those of you who are new, like, if you have not thought about this, especially if you were public schooled yourself, it's mind-blowing. Like, it's just, I feel like I missed out a lot by not being taught this way. Anyway, so back to the book. This activity guide has, so like I said, it'll have the review questions, And then it will have the narration for however many sections there are. Then it'll have, I'm not going to try to show this to you because the lighting is terrible. It's storming outside and it's still pretty early, so like it's bad. And then it'll have an additional history reading section where it has several recommendations for supplemental materials. And also, I forgot to mention at the very beginning of the activity book, or at the very beginning of the chapter of the activity book, they will have the Kingfisher, whatever their encyclopedia is, and also the Usborne World History Encyclopedia and the Usborne Internet Linked Encyclopedia page references. So if you get those, then you can look and say, okay, this is where this is in this encyclopedia, and you can pull it up and show your kids pages and or pictures and maps and whatever else, which is what we do with the Usborne Internet Linked Encyclopedia. Okay, so then you get down to the additional history reading. So they give you a list of books that you can go find if you want, and you can never, like, I don't think you could ever get to them all. They give you a huge list. It's like half this page, like this whole section, that whole section right there, of nonfiction books that you can look at. And then it gives you corresponding literature suggestions. So it gives you like picture books and sometimes little novels and whatever corresponding with the age that you're studying, or the time period or whatever you're studying, the event you're studying. And sometimes we usually don't do the additional history reading right now. We might on our second go through if we do this again, which I plan on it as of now. So like when my boys are a little bit older and I'm not just kind of putting the memory pegs, but when they're kind of like expanding on what they know, we might use more of the additional history reading. Right now we just use the Usborne Encyclopedia. And then they give you the corresponding literature suggestions, and we do usually pull one of those. Sometimes we don't, sometimes we do. It just depends. We'll check one of those out from the library just as kind of like a supplement and to make it a little more fun. Then they have a section on map work, and in the back are student pages, and that's where you'll find your maps. Let me see if I can find a map back here. Okay, so like here's an example of a map page. And then you'll have like a little map work section inside your chapter, and it gives you, like it tells you, okay, this is what happened. So they traveled from here to here. Draw a red line from here to here. They settled in this country. Color this country. You know, whatever. And it just helps them to see on a map in the world where this all happened. And my boys love the map work, even as young as they are. Then they usually have at least one coloring page per chapter, which are also found in the student pages. And I give those to my boys while I'm reading to color. It gives them something to do. And then you have a huge list of projects. It's anywhere from like an activity, it can be a game, it can be an art project, it can be a recipe to make, and some of them are super easy, like memorize this poem or, you know, whatever. One time when we were learning about a queen, we had like a coronation. We like pretended we had a coronation. And then sometimes they're like really involved, like mummifying things and I don't know, all this crazy stuff. So it's however intense you want to get is how intense you can get. And you could never do them all, I don't think. Like, I think you could I think if you did everything, you might get through 4 chapters of the book in a year. Like, there's a lot. And I think they also have tests that you can buy for this. I don't, like I said, I might, the second time we go through this, I might buy them. But with as young as my kids are, we just don't do that right now. I can pretty much tell what they've gotten out of it by just asking them and plodding through those narrations that they're not very good at yet. So I think that's all I have to say about this. I love this, like, legitimately love this. It's like one of the highlights of our week when we used to do this. And my boys actually love it too. History, I just wasn't sure if it was going to be their thing or not because it can be really boring. Like if you don't, I mean, just depending on how you teach it. And they truly, really love this. They love listening to the story as long as I give them something to do with their hands. Like I said, if there's not another coloring page, because sometimes there's only one coloring page per chapter, and there's, like I said, we break up the sections. So then another day I might give them, just Play-Doh, or I let them draw or whatever to keep their hands busy, but, they can still hear me. And sometimes if there's like a art activity we'll be doing with it, then I'll let them go ahead and start on that as I read. It just depends. So yeah, if you have any more questions, just post them below, or if you're friends with me on Facebook, you can ask them there. But I thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.